Hi, boys and girls. Today in numeracy, we're going to be continuing on with learning about division, and today we're going to be focusing on the bus stop method, which is also known as formal division. So what are we learning? Well, we're learning to use the formal method of division, and like I said, that's also known as the bus stop method, to solve two-digit division questions. So questions that have tens and units in them. And today we're going to be focusing on the 2 times table. We're going to be learning this by watching this PowerPoint, okay, and listening carefully to this PowerPoint, by doing some questions from the TJ textbook, by using our times table mat to help us, by counting up on our fingers, and also by using concrete materials, which are anything you have around. It might be counters, it might be pens, it could be pencils, anything that you can share out equally. You're learning about formal division so that you can be successful learners who can solve division problems using a range of strategies. So what do we already know about division? Well, we know we can solve problems using number lines, arrays, groups, all sorts of different strategies, and today you're going to be learning a different strategy, and you can be confident to be able to choose, well, which strategy is going to be the best one here. To be successful, your success criteria is to know that the number under the bus shelter is the number we are dividing, so the dividend, and understand that the number on the left of the bus shelter is the number that we are dividing by, so it's called the divisor. And we also need to know that we divide the tens first, then the units. Now, boys and girls, I know we haven't even looked at a bus stop question yet, but this will all become clear once we go into our first example. So this is just a wee recap about what we know about division already. We know that it's sharing things equally. So in this example, we're getting asked, well, how many cookies do Bobby and Serena get each? And I hope you remember this, we've done this example before. So altogether there are 8 cookies, and it's asking us, well, how can you make this fair? How can we make this equal? So let's have a look at how we're going to divide 8 cookies between 2 people. Okay, so we give them one at a time. Okay, we don't give one person all of the cookies all at one time, we give them out one at a time. Okay, so we've shared them out equally, and after sharing them out equally, we can see that each person gets 4 cookies. All right, so they've been shared equally between 2. Right, so let's have a look at this word problem on the screen. And we're wondering, well, how could we actually solve this word problem? It's telling us that there were 48 pencils that were divided equally between Lily and Alora. How many pencils did each girl get? So think for a second to yourself, how would you solve this problem? What strategy would you use? Would you use arrays? Would you draw out an array of 48 with two rows? Okay, and see, well, how many dots would be in each row if I had 48? That can maybe take a long time though, and it might maybe be a little bit more prone to error because you can maybe not put in the right amount of dots. You could do groups, so you could draw out 48 pencils or 48 dots, and you could circle the groups of 2 and then check, well, how many groups of 2 are there? You could use an empty number line. You could go from 0 to 48 and count up in 2s, but again, that might take you quite a while and you might make a wee mistake along the way. Now, there's one more method that we could use, and it is the bus stop method, or also known as formal division. Now, it's called the bus stop method because, do you see this line going up and across? It almost looks like a bus stop, okay? And the number in here, 48, is the number that we're going to be dividing, okay? We're dividing 48 and we're dividing it by the number 2. Okay, so it's 48 divided by 2. And up here we can see how we've been learning to lay this out so far. So we want to know, what's 48 divided by 2? Now, thinking back to our success criteria, it told us to start at the tens and then go to the units. And that's kind of different, isn't it, to what we normally do? Normally in addition and multiplication, we would start at the units first and then move up to the tens. But with division, we start at the tens first and then go to the units. So we go from left to right. Now, we want to know, instead of trying to figure out 48 divided by 2, let's break it down into the tens and units. So let's just start at 4 divided by 2. Now, there are a couple of ways to figure this out, boys and girls. You could just know that 4 divided by 2 is 2. You just know that number fact off the top of your head. You might want to count up in multiples of 2 until you get to 4. So you know 0, 2, 4. So 2. Okay, 2 2s are in 4. You might want to use a times table mat, okay, or write out the 2 times table if you don't have one. And you might want to see, well, 2 times what is 4? 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so there's a few different ways that you can figure this out. You might even want to get 4 pens or 4 pencils and share them out equally. Picked up 5 there by mistake, but you get the point. Share them out equally between 2 groups, and you can see that each person would get 2 if you were to do it that way. Okay, so the answer for the tens, if we're going to write that above the bus stop, is 2. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. Right, so we've done the tens. Now what do we need to do next? The units. Right, so a bigger number this time, but we can still use the same strategies to help us. So 8 divided by 2 is what? If I had 8 cookies and I split them between 2 people, how many cookies would each person get? Now, you could try and draw a picture or visualise that in your head. You might want to count up in 2s, so 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. How many 2s did I count up in? 1, 2, 3, 4 before I reached 8. You might want to use the multiplication times table that you've drawn out, so you could see, well, 2 times what equals 8? 4 times 2 equals 8, and I know that division's just the inverse. So what is your answer going to be then? It's going to be 4. Okay, so 48 divided by 2 is 24. And there's the answer there. So boys and girls, I hope that makes sense. See, we're going to do a few more examples, and I think this always looks harder than it actually is, but really it's quite a good way to help us with dividing bigger numbers. So we've solved this problem. There are 48 pencils divided between Lily and Laura, between 2 people, and using bus stop division, we found out that each girl would get 24 pencils each. So that is a great way of solving that problem. Right, we've now got another problem here, and we can see that the problem is 64 divided by 2. And you can just imagine how long that would take to draw out an array that showed 64 divided by 2. So there are other ways of doing this, the bus stop method. Now you can see that the number underneath the bus stop is 64. Okay, so we're dividing 64 by the number 2. Alright, and how are we going to do this? What are we going to look at first? Is it going to be the tens or the units? It's going to be the tens. Right, so we have got 6 divided by 2. So if I had 6 cookies and I split them between 2 people, how many cookies would each person get? You might be able to visualise that in your head or draw a picture. You might want to count up in 2s until you get to 6, and it will show you how many 2s are in 6. So 2, 4, 6, right, I've used 3 fingers. You may want to check the times table mat and see 2 times what is 6? There's 6 there. 3 times 2 is 6. So what number is going to go here then? It's going to be number 3. And you can even check that, boys and girls. You could say, well, 2 times 3 is 6, that's right. Now we're going to look at the units first, because we start with the tens and then we go on to the units. So this time we've got 4 divided by 2. So in your head you might be thinking, well, 2 times what equals 4? Okay, that's a good way to think about it. You might want to visualise cookies being shared, 4 cookies being shared between 2 people. You may want to count up on your fingers in 2s until you get to 4. So 2, 4, there's 2. Or you might want to check your times table. So you can see that 2 times 2 equals 4. So the answer on top of the 4 is going to be 2. So we know that 64 divided by 2 equals 32. And boys and girls, once you get the hang of this, this is such a fast way to solve bigger number problems, okay, in division. Let's move on now to the next one, 86 divided by 2. And again, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing the whole time, which is dividing the tens first, then the units. And we're using our strategies to help us. So, looking at the first one, 8 divided by 2. So you might be thinking in your head, well, Mrs. Chand, I know that 2 times 4 equals 8. You might want to be counting up in 2s until you get to 8. So 2, 4, 6, 8. You can see I'm holding up 4 fingers. You may want to check your times table, Matt, and see, well, what times 2 equals 8? There's 8. 4 times 2 equals 8. Okay, so the answer for the first part of the problem is 4. Now looking at the units, and it's the same thing again, boys and girls. You're thinking, well, do I know 6 divided by 2? Do you just know that fact? Do you know 2 times what equals 6? You might just know that 2 times 3 equals 6. You can count up in your fingers in 2s till you get to 6. So 2, 4, 6. Okay, you can see that there are 3 fingers up. Or you can check your times table, Matt, and see, well, 2 times what equals 6? 3 times 2 equals 6. So the answer for the units part of the problem is, of course, 3. So 86 divided by 2 equals 43. Okay, I hope this is becoming a wee bit more clear now, boys and girls. Right, we've got another problem here. Now, this time, boys and girls, I want you, using the strategies that I have taught you, to try and solve this problem of 28 divided by 2. So have a go at pausing the video, and then by working through the tens, then the units, see if you can solve this answer. Okay, and press play when you're ready. So I know that 2 times 1 equals 2, so 2 divided by 1 is 2, so that part is going to be 1. And I know that 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4. So the answer for this question is 14. So well done if you got that right, boys and girls. For our next question, we've got 68 divided by 2. And again, I want you to pause the video and have a go at doing this on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard and play when you are ready. So looking at the tens first, we've got 6 divided by 2. So how many 2's are there in 6? If you shared 6 cookies between 2 people, how many would each person get? The answer is 3 for that part. And the same for the next part. 8 divided by 2 is what? Well, it's 4. So the answer altogether is 34. Right, we've got one more now, and this one is 82 divided by 2. So again, boys and girls, can you just please pause the video and have a go at working out this question, remembering to start at tens and then the units, and press play when you are ready. So looking at the tens first, if I had 8 cookies and I shared them between 2 people, how many would each person get? They would get 4 each. And 2 divided by 2, well, I remember that from the last one, that was 1. That's easy. So my answer is 41. So boys and girls, let's look again at our learning intention grid. We're learning to use the formal methods of division, also known as the bus stop method, to solve division questions. We're learning it through the PowerPoint, which we've just watched, through the TG questions, which are in your assignment, by using a times table, Matt, and I hope I've showed you how to use that, and counting up on our fingers. And again, I hope I've shown you how to use that as well. And boys and girls, also in there should really be using your tables knowledge as well, okay? Because obviously your times table knowledge is going to help you too. Remember our success criteria. Know that the number under the bus shelter is a number that we are dividing, which is known as a dividend. We need to understand that the number on the left of the bus shelter is a number that we are dividing by, which is the divisor. And we need to remember to divide the tens first and then the units. So boys and girls, I hope that's all been okay for you today. Remember, just ask if you have got any questions, okay? That is what we are here to do. We're here to help you, okay? And use all of these different strategies like counting on your times table mats to help you, all right? Okay, those boys and girls, bye for now and good luck.